This is Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 on this Tuesday morning, ready to rock and roll. Bismarck head football coach Mark Gibson will join us about a half hour. Looking forward to that. We mentioned off the top of the big college football news in our area that broke yesterday. North Dakota State will face Montana State in a game in Las Vegas over Labor Day weekend 2027. They'll be joined by South Dakota State and the University of Montana in 2029 at Allegiant Stadium over Labor Day weekend. Great to have Justin Sell back on our show, South Dakota State athletic director, on this Tuesday morning to give us the lowdown on this. So give us your part of this. When did you find out? How did this all come together for the Jackrabbits to make this happen?
Yeah, I think, scheduling is always conversation kind of year-round. Certainly, Matt and I, and then Leon and Kent at Montana State and Montana talk often, just more in the landscape of FCS and the challenges. We all seem to face similar challenges, and whether that's budgets, whether that's scheduling, there's a lot of likenesses. And so, really kind of had the opportunity, and certainly grateful for ESPN and their understanding of our fan bases, their understanding that FCS football is there's some unique components to it, and one worth putting on the big stage. And so to have the opportunity kind of come together here, I would say in the last 6 months, and kind of work out some of those details and how do we make it happen. And with these 4 schools, I think it's great for FCS football. I think for all of us that, scheduling certainly has its own challenges, and to get a game like this early in the season. And then, truthfully, to be able to announce it now, it just creates that excitement. It creates the excitement. We've got some great teams again this fall. But as people start to plan their future travels and schedules, I think our fan bases will show up and show up really well. Describe,
Justin, the immediate reaction you heard from alums, donors about this when it got released yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, the response has been fantastic. And I don't know that I didn't think it would be a lot, but it's been a lot. Yeah. I think, and I say that it's 4 years away, and yet, people are so excited. I think, and probably some of it for us, Dom, is, kind of going from Division II to Division I, and then really taking the last decade to build a program, and whether that's a brand or an image, and to have it come to this, that we're in that category, that we built ourselves into that spot. I think there's just a sense of pride for what we do, and this announcement just added to that. And then, a lot of them are already trying to figure out how to block that on their calendar, and where they're going to go and how they're going to spend their 3 or 4 days in Las Vegas.
We chatted, I think, when you announced the Target Field game. Did that give you the blueprint that we can do this, that there's a hive of fans that want to go see the Jackrabbits play in non-traditional locations?
Yeah, and I think for me, it probably started when we played in the spring national championship game, in Frisco. You got to put in how many tickets you want, and there was limited tickets because of COVID, but you're like, I hope we can fill those even with the limited piece. And not only did we fill them, the demand was huge. And then to play NDSU in our kind of first national championship in the kind of a regular season, you couldn't get a ticket through our allotment. You couldn't even come close. That demand was probably double. And so I think that gave us great confidence with the Target Field deal, and then that turned out really well. So yeah, I think that was a sense in the last 4 or 5 years that our fan base will travel. Our fan base is excited about these opportunities, and we're probably in a different position than we were 10 years ago.
I have to ask, because Bison fans always ask me, how do the Jacks still get in FBS games? They've been good for a while, and you have, I believe, Northwestern, Iowa State. I think you have the Huskers still. So I ask you, how are you still getting these games?
Yeah. Well, several. So the Nebraska one was done probably 10 years ago. We were supposed to play them in 24, and they moved to go to Ireland. And so we ended up that's how we ended up picking up the Oklahoma State game last fall. Yep. So we were supposed to play them in 24 and 28, and then the 24 got moved to 30. So we have them in 28 and 30 now. Northwestern was done probably 3 years ago at least. And Iowa State was done a couple years too. So we're that far out in those schedules now. The in between years, the 29 for us, we didn't have a Power Four game, so this is an amazing opportunity to kind of fill that in as we continue to work on that schedule. But yeah, I would say the calls are a little more difficult at this point, definitely.
Nobody answering a 605 area code now when you call?
No, I don't think many are taking calls from our two states.
Yeah, that's the fact you still got them though. I mean, and they're going to play. That's a huge. I mean, I have to imagine Chicago for the Northwestern game. That could be a huge turnout for you guys as well.
Yeah, it'll be incredible. Obviously, tons of alums, but a lot within driving distance. And then Chicago again is almost like its own place as far as making a weekend of it. And yeah, we'll do really well at Northwestern next fall.
Let me talk about this upcoming year because you've got a dynamite start with Sacramento State. We were talking off air. You have Sac State and Montana State in Bozeman to start. That's a heck of a 1-2 punch. For a new head football coach. I know when you were mapping it out, did he just like, okay, that whoever our team's going to look like, that's a challenging way to start 2025?
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, Montana State, we had done a home and home, played here in 23, and then this was the return to it. So that was already kind of set up. And then, as we kind of get into that last game we need every year, there's a handful of teams that can fill that. And so, Sacramento State was on that list, and opportunity for us to be able to get them in here and get a guarantee game, get a home game. And the Big Sky, we've had a great relationship in terms of playing those schools. They're willing to play, and they're great games. Our fans understand that. Our fans appreciate that. And then, they wouldn't have known when they signed on, we'd have a complete new staff, and we didn't know they would either. So, that changes. You can't really map out all those things on where someone is at as a program, or if they're going to be highly ranked or not. You certainly know which schools have that potential. And so it's going to be a great start. And then Montana State, we've developed a pretty good, rivalry to some degree as far as just the affiliation, and with Leon Costello, their AD, having worked here, and just some of the kind of those nuances. It's been a great game for us. I know NDSU obviously has had great games with them too. And the Vegas game will be incredible for Bison fans as well as Bobcats.
You speak of the Bison, you have them at your place this year. ESPN's picked it up. I anticipate that's going to be a night game. You've been to plenty of Dakota Marker games, as have I. That one may be the most highly anticipated in Brookings that I can remember. That will be highly exciting for that last week in October.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I've been here. I'm in year 17, and just every game with NDSU is awesome. Whether regular season, playoffs, it got a little old in the middle there when we were playing. It seemed like 2 times a year, and most of them up in Fargo. But I think, given where our programs are and us winning a couple national championships in a row, and obviously NDSU coming back and getting it done last year, I agree with your sentiment. Being on ESPN, being late November, there's going to be obviously a lot riding on that, probably from seeding perspectives and for a Valley Conference championship and all those things we play for, and then just the amount of respect we have for each other. But that's going to be a really hard ticket. It's going to be electric. Obviously, ESPN will set the time of that game, but a night game in that environment, it could be off the charts.
For that game last year with USD, is that something you can maybe have a gauge for, knowing you did it last year, was prime time under the lights, that it might be even bigger with the Bison? Is that a gauge for what you did last year?
Yeah, I think absolutely. And obviously we go at 2:00 just from a weather perspective, sun, better experience, and all those kinds of things. But I would say fans in general, that night game, especially against a rival, there's just something electric about it. There's something that changes when you go from 2 to 6. It's dark. Yeah. It's kind of football weather. It's outside. It's the intensity's there, and then people have had all day to kind of pre-celebrate to get in the stadium, and obviously NDSU travels so well. Their tailgate is the most organized one we have come in here. I would say our campus officials actually love working with them because they know exactly what they're doing. We got a great spot for them, and it's great college football. I mean, if you step outside our own hats, there's not many environments that are quite like that one.
I have to ask, we were joking off air. That's nice to be talking about on the field. I got to talk some off the field. And we haven't had a chance to discuss the decision by the university to opt in to the House settlement. I know you had vacillated a bit. You weren't alone on that. There are a lot of schools that did that. Describe why you ended up in the decision to opt in. Why was this the best way for South Dakota State to go?
Yeah, I think once they changed the ability to grandfather the rosters, for us, that was in the range of 70 to 75 student athletes. And so university perspective tuition, a lot of those student athletes are the ones that are on low or partial or no scholarships. And so they're, paying full fare, and all of a sudden you lose 75 students on campus. That has to be planned for. Secondly, we were probably moving towards that the next March anyway. And if I could protect those kids, I'd rather do it than turn around 9 months later and say, oh, by the way, you don't have a home and we're going to these roster limits. So it gives us some time to work that in. The rest of it, honestly, in balance, there weren't a lot of differences of how we have to operate and the things we have to work in, because truthfully, the revenue share piece for those schools that are doing 20.5 million, it matters. For some of us, we have other mechanics to get some of that done, but I think this is a really good place for us. It gives us some flexibilities in some ways to do some things with donors and certainly raising more dollars, even just simply for Alston money, which we didn't do a lot of in the last 4 years. Some of those categories, it makes it easier.
I know, Justin, for the fan base up here on my show, and I know we got plenty of people that watch in South Dakota, was trying to inform them what this was. How much have you had to be out front to talk to your alums, talk to your donors about exactly what this is and how to contribute to NIL, and how much of a fact-finding were you doing over the last couple months and still doing?
Yeah, I would say that works ongoing, because it's going to take time to catch up to the whole fan base and those donors.
Right.
You probably start with some groups of sports or where you need to get to. And some, it's not just a football, men's basketball, it's timing. Volleyball's in season, like their recruiting windows. Who are they talking to right now? You got to have that stuff together. So you have to have an idea of what packages you have and what resources you might be able to use. So really trying to work through that. And we kind of set a timeline of September 1st to have all of those pieces and messages together. And then really by signing day in November, we want to be able to lock in so our coaches know exactly where they're at, what they have to offer, what it looks like. And really for returning student athletes, probably first and foremost. And then what's it look like in the marketplace for those freshmen you're recruiting? I am fortunate, Dom. Our fan base has been really supportive and trusting of the things that we do and how we go about doing it. We've obviously utilized a lot of patience over the last 4 years, which patience in sports is hard. But I think those decisions have played out well, kind of time and time again. So we start in a really good place with our fan base, and I appreciate that a lot from them.
We have a lot of people that watch us in Rapid City. Your basketball teams are going to play out there. Can you give us the lowdown on how that came about to get the women specifically to play Montana out in Rapid City this coming November?
Yeah, so our men played Northern Colorado last year. We've been working with Rapid City for a while on just getting some opportunities to get out west. We have a lot of great supporters, and Rapid City is farther away than Minneapolis, right? So, and yet it's in the same state.
Right.
So you're trying to always figure out. It's important for us to be out there, and we're out there every year. But to bring a game, it went really well. And then obviously with our women's basketball team, and then with a team like Montana, that kind of local connection. Really makes for a special day. So for us, when we can put some games in the Pentagon down in Sioux Falls, and you take game 16 or 17, you get 15 home games, and then you take an away game and you put it in your state, it's a really pretty cool thing to do. And those games have been really good. Rapid City has been very accepting and very interested in getting the Jackrabbits out there.
I saw also you're going to Cancun. Are you part of that trip that this coming Thanksgiving or no?
I haven't made our women's team's played there a few times. I have not made the Cancun trip. It's usually football playoffs, selection shows, Thanksgiving weekend with the family. So I'll let them go enjoy the competition down there.
Last thing for you, the decision that the Summit League had to stay for its basketball tournament in Sioux Falls. I know how big a deal it is for your fan base. I'm sure they were overwhelmed on that. How much you tap into that to say this is our Super Bowl. We want you to come. You can be an impact to go to Sioux Falls for 3 days and check out this event.
Yeah, obviously, our fans understand having it in this area, and really it's both a men's and women's team for us. And so they get a double up. I think over the years, I mean, they showed up early when we were in the old building, and it's carried over and grown into the new one. But I'm also proud of them. They show up for other games and other sessions as well. I think, there's a lot of sessions that probably would have 500 people at it, and there's 4,000 because you got a bunch of our fans that are they're into college basketball. And it's a lot like NDSU fans with the national championship. I mean, that you buy into that, that's your thing. And for our fans, that tournament's been around for 15 years in our area, and it's their thing. That's their spring break. That's their week to celebrate great college basketball. They love watching all of it, and then certainly they love supporting the Jackrabbits.
If there's anybody else I know you don't want to see to win in women's basketball, it'd be nice to see, but you guys have got a monopoly on that, what's going on in women's hoops in the Summit League right now. I really appreciate the time. Congrats on the Vegas game, and good luck here in a couple weeks. We'll catch you down the road, all right?
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, Dom.
Thanks so much for the time. Justin Sell, South Dakota State Athletic Director, joining us this morning. The Jackrabbits, they'll get Montana, that game in Vegas in 2029. I'm telling you right now, Eric, you can bring up the schedule again when you have a second. That for them, for Dan Jackson to start, was Sac State and then at Montana State. That's a tough. Personally, I think they're going to destroy Sac State. I do not think that game is going to be close. Everybody's going to want to get a piece of Sac State from what the president has been saying about JV football, and I think the Jacks will do that. Dan Jackson's first game, Chase Mason's first game, I think they're going to have some fun. The game in Bozeman is going to be incredibly difficult. That is going to be a hard game for them. So if they're 1-1 out of that, right, and I'm saving my team-by-team predictions for later in the week and into next week, then you've got 2 layups. I'm just going to call it then. And then you got a night game in Youngstown. By the way, gamesmanship going on there. What's Youngstown doing scheduled in South Dakota State for a 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central kick? Come on. Northern Iowa, they should take care of. They're going to win at Murray. That's the Jacks' first trip to Murray, by the way. Then the Bison. They get Indiana State in Brookings. Boy, the games in Brookings are layup until the Bison come. Then at South Dakota, that's the other ESPN game. The last 3 could be tricky. At South Dakota, Illinois State coming to Brookings. And again, I'm not ready to recognize Illinois State till they beat either the Bison or the Jacks, which they haven't done in 6 years, and then end the season in Grand Forks. And that's not a typo, folks. That is a scheduling anomaly that I know the Jacks went to Grand Forks last year. They're doing it again this year. So then to break up having UND and NDSU at home on the same year, or on the road for that matter. The Bison wanted that as well, to not have the Jacks and UND on the home schedule both times. Like, this is the last time for NDSU they'll play at Brookings and Grand Forks in the same regular season. That won't happen going after this. But going to be really Kolpak said this on our preview show, and if you missed it, you can go back and check it out at WDAY Plus and Inforum.com. South Dakota State is the great question mark this year. They're the great experiment. How does a team rebuild itself after losing as much as they did? They went in the portal. They got a bunch of drop-down guys. They brought up some guys from the NAI and D2 ranks. How good are they going to be? We even have difference of opinions in this building on, I still think they're going to be really good. Others think they will be not as good. It's the great experiment surrounding South Dakota State in 2025. All right, we're over to for a break. We got a bunch of baseball emails to get to on the expansion and realignment. We'll get to them and Gibby coming up here in about 15 minutes. Back at a fast-moving hot mic right after this.